So it's the time for one of those massive packages from China, but what are we getting? I think it's going to be quite interesting, so stay tuned and let's go. Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in. So in today's video we are going to take a close look at one of those arcade products I purchased from One More Arcade. So in here we're finding a hybrid device that you have the option to slap it in an arcade machine, an arcade one-up, custom arcade, but also if you just want to use this thing as a game machine. So it is also called the Alpha 3D Max with a lot of potential and a lot of different ways to play. So in here we're finding light gun machines and all kinds of cool stuff, including a massive box, because this is the Pandora's box itself, the machine that can basically play it all. Or does it have limitation that we have seen many times before? So this is actually what we're getting inside the package. A lot of different components, because this is quite on the looks kit, complete with light guns and everything else. But how is this when it comes to the competition? So let's start off with the controllers. I'm quite disappointed already. And the reason why, not because of the two controller, one, let's say USB configuration, no, simply because they are giving you the cheap ones. This is absolutely like those chemical ones I personally really hate. Very cheap feel, no rumble function. Yeah, they should improve it, but I understand this is an arcade board, so I'm guessing they don't want to have the focus on, let's say, the controller configuration. They just want you to plug this thing into arcade machine, and these things are just extra. The package comes complete with all the cables, including the JAMA connection, and I'm guessing that I'm going to be needing it for powering on because the on-off switch seems to be in here, but it's something we're going to be plugging in and seeing later on. In here we're finding the sensor bar that you need to implement in your arcade, or in this case just on top of my monitor, and they're using the Wii sensor thingy with just a single sensor. This is, so far I understand, not the best configuration, but it does work okay because I've tested out this many times before. And the last part is the VGA and the HDMI cable, so we can use it on a modern and an old school monitor. But if this is going to be supporting the really old CRTs, that is something I have no idea of, and I can also not test it here because I don't have one of those monitors. There is a special port on the PC itself, because actually what it is. So yeah, spoiler alert, that we're having the special button for connecting it. I think this is some of the things that you need to have if you're going to be implementing this in an arcade machine. Also going to be connecting it because I'm guessing I'm going to be needing this. But how about the light guns itself? So the light guns of the One More Arcade setup are, let's say, way bigger than, let's say, a retro shooter whatsoever. And I can tell you that the overall quality is quite nice. But also when it comes to the solenoids, I will show you what I mean and how does it actually work later on with the light gun feature. They're working with 12 volt of, let's say, solenoids, so they have a very nice kickback to it. Alright, but how about powering on? So we're having two power supplies. The first one is going to be for the PC. What they're doing absolutely great over there is they're giving you the sticker so you cannot like swap them out and mess it up. So in here we're finding, I think it was a 12 volt. Yep, 12 volt, 7 amps, an overall okay, like say power supply, which not very heavy, 4 and 7 amps, but in here we're finding the 24 volts, 5 amps, and this is for the light guns. And here we're finding the barrel jack connection that we're going to be plugging the, the connectors of the light guns and everything, like even a splitter, so it's going to be very convenient if you just want to power this thing on, so only needing one plug and we split it up to the two power supplies. So everything that you're going to be needing is inside the kit. Okay, so the most important thing, the heart of the machine, the PC, because that's actually what they're using. The first impression is not positive because there was something loose in it. So we're going to be opening it up because we need to see what is in the inside also. But let's see what it comes to the connection. So this thing you can just clearly see it's made for putting in an arcade machine through all the holes over here, so you can just screw it in your arcade machine. So this is the special connection for the bottom, two USBs over here, and I think these were like for the light guns. Nevertheless, we're going to be looking into the manual. Always double check it because they were like indicating everything. The HDMI, VGA, we're having another 4 ports and the RG45. The even and separate audio jack and the input for the power supply. But let's open up this thing and let's see what are we getting in the inside. Okay, so the previous one I've reviewed was complete in an arcade stick. We have different configurations here, and the downside to these things, they are very expensive, because that is the thing with these, like say, special unique made things. There was only a screw in here, so that is not a big of a deal. So do I have like a loose screw? Not I know of. I do see they implemented an NVMe with only one bracket, so that's kind of weird. But this is the configuration of the mini PC. They're using, let's say, basic stuff. It's a single, let's say, DIMM, so you cannot upgrade it with a dual slot. It's kind of a bummer because you cannot like have a dual configuration faster speed. So when it comes to the SATA drive or the SSD, they're using fast speed. Never heard of it. Don't know if it's going to be a very good one. Nevertheless, this is actually what we're having in the inside. It's quite interesting configuration. What I find interesting that they didn't even put the cable for the special connector all the way on there. So I'm just going to leave it as it. I'm going to be leaving it as it is. But if this doesn't work, this means I'm going to be connecting it on the full pin connector. Yeah. How about the controls and how everything works? At first I was afraid that something was going to be wrong simply because the way of its very strange configuration having PC that's actually made for arcade machine. But in here we're finding an absolutely great overall configuration. I need to put in the lock mode, otherwise it didn't, let's say, recognize the controller. I've tried an Xbox 360 and yep, it seems to be working, but we do miss some features. So maybe I need to mess around a little bit more, because when you're pressing, let's say, the right joystick, over here we can navigate to the main menu and going all the way back that we have seen with Pandora's boxes. So that works absolutely great. The same goes for the gun one player or the light gun itself. Yeah, you have all kinds of features on there, and I think this absolutely great way to configure it. You need to get used to it, so read the manual. That's absolutely like very well explained. And when you're looking at the way how it works, or actually it doesn't work now, because you can just see that I'm not far enough from the screen. But I can tell you when you're going to be far enough from the screen, the 24 volt solenoid is activated and has absolutely an amazing click. So the overall configuration, if they like implement better controllers, that would be absolutely a great, let's say, way to play. But later on, maybe I'm going to be figuring out how to get two Xbox 360 controllers or X input version like ready to go, because combined with the PC, we have an absolutely great plug and play kit for just having this with your television. How about the Pandora Gun Max menu? It's kind of messy like the previous model. So having the 3D and 2-dimensional list, personally I hate this, simply because it makes no sense whatsoever, because the 3-dimensional also have just 2-dimensional games. In here we do have the icon showcasing that we have a lot of different light guns, even including Virtual Cop 1 and 2. So where we have, like, say, some basic, let's say, retro shooter or Pandora's Box Standard Edition has some limitation due to the power. This thing doesn't have any issues with some other games that we didn't see before, and those, I say, cheaper solutions. And that's absolutely great. Where we don't have like thousands or something like light guns, no, that's not the case. The menu, they should improve it. Think about the Pandora's Box 10 or the Pandora Game 3D. That works so much more convenient. But let's go all the way up to the top, having the 2-dimensional games. Also here we can find even some extra light gun games. And yep, we have a favorite list, a history, and the search. And with the search in here, we're finding just a simple way to search for our games, of course. And let's see if we can implement a letter. Yeah, always like figuring out how everything works over here. But if you're going to put in the Sonic, you can just see that it searches all the Sonic games, so that part works great. In here we're having the categories, Sega Dreamcast, N64, but with this particular machine I don't expect any problems with N64, and I think also with PlayStation Portable. So that is what we're going to be also dedicating this video to. Categories over here, shooting, puzzle, and also of course the light gun. So if you want to have all the light guns on one page, you can just search for it, and that's it actually. Alright, so pressing the left analog stick, in here we're finding the Pandora Gun Max special menu. We're having the key settings, coin. Here we can set everything set to free play. Only the light gun games I've not noticed that we did need to put in some credits. We still have that weird like naming of graphic mode. Say like filter, no filter. Game settings and the restore factory settings. There's nothing much we can actually mess around with. So it's very limited for such an expensive and deluxe product. But first let's focus on the normal games. So if you want to get into some 8-bit, 16-bit, you don't need to buy such an expensive product, because the simple product like a normal one more arcade product or a retro shooter can play them all just fine. But I just want to implement them in the video. So let's look through the list of PC Engine. If there's anything else that I wanted to showcase over here, we have a Bomberman, all kinds of cool games over here. Everything has a preview picture, or at least a video. That seems to be working all fine. Ooh, Darius Plus. That's absolutely great game. I also have this on my PC Engine. A downside is that we cannot actually use any aspect ratio shizzle going on over here. The weird thing is that we always need the button for the second control. Let's see, the analog stick is only configured to the gaming over here. Let's remove the analog configuration, and indeed I can use the D-pad now, so that seems to be working all fine. Holding the right joystick on the second controller should be the way out. Oh, there we go. It also adjusted the volume, as you can see over here, because it's running on Windows. Yeah, so the weird thing is, like, I need to put the analog on, otherwise I cannot navigate. So, you know, it's kind of messy, to be honest, that we need to toggle analog on and off, depending how you actually want to play. Exit the game, and that's actually how it works. Okay, so let's go back into some more stuff like the Mega Drive, and let's take a closer look at these games. Oh, it's going to be in the 6x9 crazy widescreen resolution chisel. Let's start off with some Mega Drive. I just want to hear the soundtracks. So I'm using the analog stick now. Okay, trying to search what button I need to use. Alright, so that seems to be configured to a 3-button situation. Okay, so let's remove the analog now. So we can use the D-pad, but oh man, like the D-pad is so difficult to play with. Because you need to push it in really hard. Oh, this is not going to be a pleasant experience. But the overall emulation seems to be working just fine, so when it comes to that, no problem whatsoever. So what we need to do is figuring out how I can add new controllers to this 1 and 2 player, and we also have all of the, let's say, shortcuts, so we can go back to the main menu. Okay, next up we are using the Game Boy Advance emulator, and they didn't implement any pixel filter. We can do this in the menu, or the special menu, where we can configure that. It will look a little bit better on bigger screen, because this is some widescreen craziness. I must say that I actually can really enjoy it on this analog stick of the controller. Alright, there we go. Whew. Okay, next up was some Famicom, and I've noticed that they're using some PAL games, so that's clearly... Oh yeah. So does this thing has automatic like turbo function or what? Seems to be looking like that. But so far also here, no weird things going on with the music. Moving on to some Super NES, and I can tell you, I completely messed it up. Alright, I had an absolutely huge brain fart over here. But when I was playing these games with the analog stick, it seems to be just playable. Okay. No weird emulation shizzle going on over here, no weird glitches, everything boots up instantly, no problem whatsoever. So let's do something crazy, let's save. Alright, let's go back to the menu again. Let's load up, and you can see that works also great without problem. What is interesting, that automatically it sees to play 2 controllers, you can just say over there. So that is kind of cool. No problem whatsoever. So 2-player configuration works just fine. You just plug in the 2-player controller and that's it. So when it comes to the PlayStation 1 part, this system is capable of running it without any problem. The only thing I do wonder is, like, are they using more like an, let's say now we're playing I think a native resolution, but this PC is able to run it on maybe 1080p. So that's one of those things you cannot adjust. Another thing they keep messing up is that they not implementing, let's say, the original soundtracks. It's kind of a bummer, because that is absolutely like such a shame if they keep doing that, and we have seen it many times before, but it's just like a hit or miss. Some Pandora's boxes or C machines don't have the problem at all, and machines like these that cost like a fortune, they're still doing it. And to save space, that's the most stupid thing, because you can just slap in a 2 TB SSD and have like massive space that you can basically add a lot of different games to. This is, by the way, one of my games I've played a lot as a child. This is so much fun. I want to give this thing a second attempt to see if they implemented some music with another game. Nope, they also messed it up with this part. No, so that's absolutely such an annoying thing. So far I tested out, they removed all of the soundtracks. Come on. Why? And also they should use some upscaling, because that would make these things or these games look so much better. So let's start off with some PlayStation Portable and just change of kinkiness with God of War. And the reason why is because this is a game that also has struggles with the cheaper Pandora's boxes, and with the mini PC we don't have this issue. I cannot see if they implemented anything like a frame skip. The button seems to be configured like the original controller, so that is great. But so far I do see some minor hiccups going on, but maybe that has to do with the loading. But besides that, you can just see that everything seems to be running just fine. So that is just great. Alright, I'm using triangle for, normally I'm using the cross, so they did mess it up with this particular game. But circle has been configured correctly. I don't see any hiccups whatsoever. Nope, no hiccups whatsoever, so that seems to be working all fine. So that is absolutely great. And this is one of those first devices that can actually play the Killer Instinct, the real main version. So that is absolutely awesome. I'm always like saying that it cannot be run on, let's say, the Pandora's box, but we could actually use it on the Gun Max thing. So that's absolutely an awesome addition, and that is thanks to having a mini PC in here. And I'm almost getting my ass kicked by this game. But shall we move to part number 2 to see if this runs also equally that good. The Killer Instinct 2 game seems to be working. The weird thing is that I'm having this weird thing that I need to get into the credit mode pressing the joystick on the right. So that's kind of weird. So far we have absolutely great overall performance. So yep, no problem there. I'm always like saying that with the Killer Instinct we're having those, let's say, Tekken games, but with Tekken, no, we're not going to get any Tekken games that are enabled of the MAME. It's kind of a downside because the MAME games of Tekken are absolutely great, but you can just see we're having the Tekken versions and the PlayStation without any music. So move on to the N64. I do see some minor glitching going on, but this is not going to be forming an issue in the general overall gameplay. So we shouldn't be afraid of having problems with N64, but let's see what button they configure for acceleration. But yep, we do have some great performance here. We have seen this with cheap mini PCs too and Batacera. Oh man, this joystick is really sensitive. Too sensitive in my opinion. Can we move to the D-pad? Yep, oh yeah, that's much better. So again, I need to press the analog button to switch between D-pad and analog, but we need to do that at the same time. Or we need to do the same thing if it's going to be in the main menu, otherwise we cannot navigate. Ugh. And of course we're going to try out one of my favorite racing games of the N64 era, F-Zero. I wish they'd bring them back. You know, the newer generation of the Switch. It's one of those franchises you don't see very often anymore. But also the emulation seems working fine. And the analog stick is not that crazy overall as sensitive that we see with Cruise in the USA. I don't know if that's like a general problem of the game itself, but it's not the same problem with the F-Zero game. Again, the same kind of weird glitching, of the graphical glitching going on the vehicle itself. You can just see it over there, but beside that, good overall emulation. I'm guessing they are running this on just native resolution, not 1080p, because also these systems will benefit from it. And you're going to put them on rendering resolutions of 1080p or 720p. And those mini PCs are just capable of doing that, even the cheaper ones. So let's move on to some snowboard kits. This is absolutely one of my favorite games also to play I've played this game so much on my original N64. I've even completed 100% where you're getting some extra characters. I think it was like the black and white ninja character. Of course, those characters were completely overpowered compared with the other ones. I've played this so much with a friend back in the day. Such a good time, but also still a lot of fun to play. So that's what I think when it comes to, let's say, these N64 titles. So many hidden gems on there. And oh man, we need to wait for the lift. Can I go first? Can I go first? Nope. Alright, so let's push this thing to the limit with some Sega Dreamcast. Whoa, that volume is so completely loud compared with the other one, the on emulators. Did hear some minor hiccups in the beginning, but that was more like an audio glitch, I guess. Of course, let's try some Power Stone 2. This is absolutely one of those best games on the Sega Dreamcast. Of course, there was so many hidden gems on that system. Think about crazy texture, but this particular one, oh boy, it was absolutely fun. And the Dreamcast game had so many extra things where you can unlock stuff. You need to play through the game, unlocking new features and other craziness. So far, so good. No weird things going on, no weird glitches. Audio seems to be right. Also in-game, no problem. The first time always trying to find which button I need to press. Let's press that button. Alright, so let's move on to the next part, the light gun situation. And the games are absolutely crazy. So some of them, I'm curious if they are using, for example, Time Crisis, the MAME or the PlayStation version, because most of them are using the PlayStation because the MAME is way too difficult to emulate on cheaper boxes. We have Virtual Cop 1 and 2, the combination of, let's say, some Sega Naomi, some PlayStation 1 and even some, let's say, 8-bit, 16-bit. There's absolutely a lot to play. So let's do a quick overview of a couple of games and let's see how the light guns work. I already tried it and I can tell you the light guns are absolutely great, but let's showcase. So what is very convenient with this particular light gun, that we have a D-pad implemented in this, so we can just navigate through the menu and we don't need the controllers. I think the only way we need the controllers, or let's say the jammer or the jammer handlers, is that we're going to be going back to the main menu. But besides that, so far I know, everything seems to be working just fine and we can just boot it up and play. Alright, so let's move on to the Judge Dredd game, and this is actually the PlayStation version. So when it comes to the light guns, this works plug and play. If you're going to be pressing the joysticks over there, yeah, sometimes you need to wait before it's going to be switching between the joystick and the light guns, but everything seems to be working just fine. You can see that there is a crosshair on the screen of player 2. You can maybe remove them when it comes to configuration, going back to, let's say, the Windows setup. I'm just going to be leaving them as is, because I don't really be bothered by it. But in combination with the solenoids, the light gun feature works absolutely great. Alright, so when it comes to this particular game, normally you're having the machine gun going on. I also have this on my Sharkade machine, but normally should configure the solenoid go all ape shit when it comes to this game. But you just have one single click and that's it. So what I understand, some systems like Retro Shooter have the option to easily switch, so pressing a certain kind of buttons, but that is not possible over here. So we can just move around and play like that with actually no solenoid. Okay, so let's go into some NES games. Oh man, just a super basic game. Let's see how it actually works out. I've personally never played this. I did notice there's a lot of difference between the audio levels in general. So this is, by the way, the arcade game, not the PlayStation version. I did see this game on cheaper boxes so far. But also this seems to be running just fine. Oh! Oh yeah, but I did complete the stage. Oh, losing a heart. I hit the bomb. The turbo gain in the game is the same as the Revolution X. Okay, wait. And yeah, we do have two crosshairs now. That's kind of weird, to be honest. And that has to do with the emulator and the game itself. Same situation. We can repeatedly press the button to have a solenoid effect. But this is just a great example that we don't have the option. Alright, so let's see if we can use a rocket. Yep, they have been configured to the side over here. So that seems to be working just fine. But still, having no solenoid is no fun. So this machine is actually running the Time Crisis real arcade version. That is absolutely cool because this game is so much superior to the, let's say, PlayStation 1. So let's get into the gameplay. So we need to use the side button over here to get into the shooting position. The game runs absolutely flawless. No problem, no weird things going on. I've been trying this game on, I think it was the Games Family board, and they completely messed it up. Oh yeah, this is absolutely blast to the past. Time Crisis is one of those games I've played so much with my light gun. Now having this, again, the relocate version with this amazing solenoid. This is absolutely fun, man. Come on, there we go. I think the weirdest game I've ever played on a light gun is with the Super NES emulator and having Lamborghini racing. So that's such a weird combination. You're just steering with your light gun. There we go. We're even gonna use the turbo. Ah, that wasn't a good idea. Ah, I can even shoot, but I don't want to say what the point of this. Come on, get out of the freaking grid. Come on, there we go. All right. Oh. And we can just shoot everybody if we want to. Whew. Such a cool combination and weird at the same time. Here we go. Where's the rifle? I do wonder how it actually worked with the real scope, because the technology was so much different than this. There we go. Let's go with some confidential mission. This is such a cool game. They also use this on the Pandora Box 10 and the, I think, Retro Shooter. So this is actually not a game that you need a very expensive product like this for, but it's a lot of fun. Go away, chubby guy. Let's go! See him go, man, Mr. Max Payne. There we go. Machine gun mode. Well, let's move on with the two-player configuration, because we have two light guns over there, but it seems to be working all fine. This is absolutely like satisfying, playing with two games or two light guns at the same time. And also this game seems to be running just fine. So it doesn't matter what we're going to be playing, there is no limitations when it comes to, let's say, the gameplay itself. They configured everything to a certain point that it runs just fine. Can we skip this? Great. And that's one of the things that I find very pleasant about this plug and play situation, is that you can just plug the sensor on your monitor and we can just play them without any problem. Alright. I know, but I was too late. Oh yep, I killed him. I messed up. That's a shame. Alright. Ninja Assaults. One of those beautiful graphical games you can only find on, let's say, more powerful devices, what I understand of. And also this seems to be working just fine. Let's grab the second light gun and let's have some fun. Oh yeah. There we go. Yeah! So with Ninja Assault, this is one of those cool games that you can just play together with friends, and it works without any problem whatsoever. Okay, moving on to some Virtual Cop. A very cool game, by the way. Ah! How do you reload with this thing? Oh, there we go. Oh, that's even more cheesy than already. Oh, this is absolutely cheesy. Let's put it that way. We just use the side button for reloading, so we have infinite bullets. Like that. But the only thing they still need to fix, and that is something of a problem, that I cannot play with the secondary player. And that is an issue when it comes to the software. But I think that can be fixed. The Maze of the King is absolutely one of those classic light gun games. I personally never seen these on, like, say, home consoles, so I think they can only be played on the arcade machines. Can we cheat? Yeah, we can cheat. We can cheat with the button. That's so much easier. Come on. Ah! There's so many of them! Pandora Gun Max is absolutely a very cool piece of technology. When they're combining a Windows PC with controllers and light guns, this worked absolutely plug and play. I had no issues whatsoever when it comes to connecting. I plugged in, let's say, the light guns and everything worked out of the box. The downside is that the controllers are very bad quality. I cannot really enjoy those games, and that should absolutely be improved. I've been messing with, let's say, one Xbox 360 wired controller. That seems to be working, but again, I need to mess around with it with some multiple controllers for Play 1 and Play 2, because we do have the feature going back to the menu and pressing the joystick itself. The light guns are absolutely great overall quality. I love them. Like, they're quite big and kind of clunky, but they do play very comfortable in the long run. So having all of the buttons configured correctly for putting in the credits, starting the game, and etc. And the solenoid, oh boy, it's really nice. The PC itself, yeah, this is a hybrid, so you can slap it into an arcade machine with the JAMA, or you can just actually use this thing as a game system with the controllers. So if the controller being improved, it would be absolutely an overall perfect experience. I will just put this thing under my television, so we can just power it on and off and just enjoy myself some light gun gaming. Thank you all for watching, consider subscribing, and it would be great to see you in the next video.